Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
DC Fandom brought us Multiverse 101. Well, the Marks are going to bring you Multiverse 201.
Trailer Trash University is here and we're going to talk about the multiverse. There seems to be some confusion when it comes to the multiverse, and now it looks like every studio is going to be expanding their connected universes into multiverses. This goes beyond just DC, it even goes into the MCU now.
This does seem to be the next level for these studios. Where can they take their universes? Well, you might as well just bring everything back.
So let's start off with talking about the DC universe and some canon. Sean O'Connell of Cinema Blend put out a tweet saying, Zack told me he views Justice League as their canon.
What's the best thing about Planet Earth?
Shit! I haven't had coffee yet. Don't ever do that again.
So this seems like a little odd that this is being established now, because way back, the interview with Grace Randolph, Zack Snyder already established this concept.
Look at it as a really sharp continuity, I think would be a mistake. I think there is like I say, those movies now, in a lot of ways, the theatrical version probably of Justice League is tighter in continuity to what they're doing now in the DCU, because frankly, that was a movie that they were in charge of the elements. In the where the movie falls is it's sort of, I believe that it really starts to represent its own path. It doesn't really, it's kind of separate now from what I would say the DC universe, cinematic universe in continuity. I think it's divergent in that way, and I think that that's a good thing. I think that the power of DC and one of its cool strengths is the sort of multiverse concept.
And later on, Sean O'Connell confirmed at JusticeCon that the word Zack Snyder shared with him about his version of Justice League that will be on HBO Max in 2021 would be a Elseworlds Justice League.
Yeah, there does seem to be some confusion in terms of Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League and how the other movies in the DC universe kind of fit into those. The way that I look at it is Justice League, unfortunately, was a fork in the road. So now we will have what Warner Brothers wants to do with their universe, which will come after Justice League, such as Aquaman and Shazam, possibly Wonder Woman 84. And then you have Zack Snyder's universe that he's building now on HBO Max. Most likely we will get his entire 5-movie arc, but he doesn't have to be handcuffed by anything that Warner Brothers is doing on their side, and vice versa. Warner Brothers does not have to try to follow what Zack Snyder is doing over on HBO Max. That is the biggest difference. Now, some of the movies may play into one another, such as Shazam. You have a lot of Easter eggs that were thrown out there in this same universe, but most of it is Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then the fork in the road in both directions.
Yeah, when it comes to the multiverse, even the slightest change creates a new universe. I think that's something that some people are misunderstanding when it comes to the multiverse. You can still have some of the exact same characters in different universes. Those characters don't necessarily have to change. It's not necessarily a bizarro world type scenario. All it takes is one small shift to put that fork in the road, as Shane described, to create a new universe. So we can still have Aquaman and Jason Momoa in his universe and how that split about. Same thing with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, and still be part Snyder's 5-movie arc. That is how the multiverse works. It doesn't have to be a complete alternating change. It just has to be a small enough change to provide that fork in the road.
Every decision we make is meaningless, because somewhere on a parallel Earth, we've already made the opposite choice. And here we're poor, we're slaves. And here, our parents never met, so we were never born. Here, the world ended in nuclear war. Here, no fish was ever brave enough to crawl up on land, and humans never evolved. And so on, ad infinitum.
I think Walter Hamada put it really well when he spoke on DC Fandom, where he kind of talked about really leaning into the multiverse.
What the multiverse allows you to do is sort of lean into this idea of you can tell just great stories, and you don't have to really be as focused on it has to fit within a singular continuity. On one Earth, we have our Gal and Jason and Ezra version of the Justice League, and we can continue telling those stories. While on a separate Earth, we don't have to worry about the continuity. We can have a more grounded, real year 2 Batman and build out that world. and not really worry about continuity, story elements, and etc. And so it's really kind of the best of both worlds and allows us to take advantage of everything that's great about what we've done and really allow us to sort of expand moving forward. And we're trying to keep it as simple as that. Like there is that one Earth, the greater Earth of sort of this existing Justice League, and then the beginnings of another Earth that is sort of happening that's early stages of year 2 Batman. And then obviously there are outliers like Joker, which it doesn't exist in either Earth, but that's okay. It's all part of the multiverse.
On HBO Max, we have the Gotham PD show that ties in to that Batman universe. So that's its own universe. The Joker is its own universe. Those slight changes that make everything different, but the characters can still be somewhat similar. That is the multiverse when it comes to DC. And of course, what they're doing with Michael Keaton's Batman is bringing back in some of those original faces, can go any direction they want when it comes to the multiverse.
In July of 2019, Marvel did announce their Phase 4 slate, and initially they announced the title of Doctor Strange 2, which is the Multiverse of Madness.
Originally, Scott Derrickson was tied to this project with the Multiverse of Madness. He left due to creative differences, and now Sam Raimi is aboard. One of the funny things is that when we originally saw this title, I think a lot of us never took it quite serious, because not only is the MCU not really known for its multiverse, other than Spider-Man, which we'll get into later, Marvel doesn't have the greatest track record with their titles actually matching up. Thor Ragnarok being an example. Yes, Asgard does get destroyed, Odin dies, but other than that, it was so far removed from the actual Ragnarok story.
That's what.
But when I came and talked to Kevin about doing a sequel, I said I don't want to do just another sequel to do a sequel. If I'm going to do it, it has to go into the territory that drew me into the Doctor Strange comics in the first place, which is how they dipped into the gothic and the horror and the horrific, and we're going to make the first scary MCU film.
Yeah.
Just really doubling down on the first Doctor Strange movie with a lot of the magic and stuff like that. That's exactly what I thought. But now the more information that seems to be coming out, it really seems like they are going to be leaning into their version of the multiverse. Now, they don't have the long-standing history that Warner Brothers and DC does on the other side with actors like Michael Keaton and Christopher Reeve and even Ben Affleck, but they do have a little bit of that with Spider-Man. There seems to be a lot of rumors around maybe bringing in high caliber actors to play a different version, such as, say, Iron Man.
To add to that concept of the multiverse, a recent rumor that Jamie Foxx's Electro will be in Spider-Man 3 has been recently confirmed by one Jamie Foxx. In a recent Instagram post by Jamie Foxx, he essentially confirmed that he will be in the next Spider-Man movie, and possibly confirms that there will be multiple Spider-Men as well. Jamie Foxx also said, "I'm super excited to be part of the new Marvel Spider-Man, and I won't be blue in this one, but 1,000% badass."
You just want to say, fuck you.
Kind of leads up to what that picture was showing. I don't know if he's actually going to have a physical form. Make sure you comment below and let us know how Tony Stark screwed Electro. Maybe in this one, Tony Stark pissed in his Cheerios.
I understood that reference.
The reason why I thought they brought Sam Raimi aboard over Scott Derrickson and the differences that they had on that was that Raimi can kind of do horror funny. Originally, Doctor Strange was pitched as a first MCU horror movie. Well, Sam Raimi obviously can do horror, and it even has some comical elements to it. Seems like a logical choice. But then Sean O'Connell of Cinema Blend put out a tweet that really made me curious. He says, Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange 2 really makes me think this Spider-Man multiverse thing is going to happen. The director that started the original Spider-Man universe with Tobey Maguire being part of the Doctor Strange movie that's going to introduce the multiverse to the MCU.
Coincidence? I think not.
This is something that fans have talked about pretty much since Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out. The concept of having these different Spider-Mans joining together and the Spider-Man multiverse out there with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and now even Tom Holland, and even Tom Holland being in the Venom movie potentially, and how all of these actors and these versions of Spider-Man can interact with one another. That's something that's been out there and fans have fantasized about and talked about for a while. It seems like Marvel might be going in that direction. The fact that this might be happening, Jamie Foxx's Electro coming back.
So this brings a lot of questions freshness to mind. Like, when you think about this, both franchises, DC and Marvel, are now going into the multiverse. The connected universe concept has run its course. So what do you do next with these comic book movies? Because there's always this thing of Marvel versus DC. Who came up with these ideas first? And I know there's going to be a lot of fighting about that idea, but it's starting to feel like some of this is just the natural order of how things are going to go. Like, especially when you look at the comic books, that's just kind of how the comic books went. Not so much the Marvel comic books. Marvel doesn't really deal in the multiverse that much. The multiverse is definitely a DC concept when it comes to the comics. But it's just kind of funny to see how these evolve and how these stories have come together. And like Shane said before, Marvel doesn't necessarily have the pantheon that DC does to go back to. Past movies and the past history, the library of movies that are out there to actually connect all these different webs together, pun intended.
Move this man!
But Marvel still can go back and connect things. So it's kind of interesting to see how this will develop. I am interested now in Doctor Strange. I originally was interested in Doctor Strange 2 when Scott Derrickson was aboard. Then when Sam Raimi came aboard, I'm like, okay, obviously there's creative differences, how Marvel's really putting the thumb down on the director to do something the way they want it done.
You know what? No, it's PG-13, you're gonna like it.
So what does that mean? How do all these things connect? We saw the Vulture in the Morbius trailer. I am curious. The MCU definitely has piqued my interest.
Same here. I just really hope that they bring back Topher Grace as, I can't even say it with a straight face, as Venom.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
It does seem like this is the next level for these studios. Where do we go with our characters? DC on their side is now saying everything existed. Everything is canon to their universe. With Marvel, I've been wondering, where do you go? You've now crescendoed your entire universe with phase 3. Where do you go from here? Well, it seems like their next idea is start leaning into their multiverse, to really start bringing in different characters and different versions of the characters and from past, and maybe some actors that you wouldn't really think can now portray a different version of Iron Man or Captain America or whomever. That seems to be their next level, and I, along with Matt, I'm very intrigued. I'm curious where both of these studios are going to go with this. Kind of brings you back to reading comics and the different possibilities in the comics of all these different characters coming together and crossing over.
And don't fuck Blade up.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
No, it's PG-13, you're gonna like it.
All right, that'll end our episode about the multiverse. I'm sure there's 15,000 different episode versions of this in the multiverse, but this is definitely the best one out of all of those. That was so shitty.
Thank you to everyone who has supported our videos lately. We are starting to see a lot of subscribers, a lot of new faces, a lot of old faces that are out there as well, sharing our videos. We greatly appreciate it. Our Patreon supporters, our YouTube members, everybody, we greatly appreciate you.
Without you, this channel and this universe could not be done. So while riding this huge high that we are and everybody enjoying our content, we're taking a break. We'll see what happens. If some emergency information comes out, we might be able to do a stream. We will see how that goes, only for big information. But I am going on vacation for 2 weeks, so we will be gone for 2 weeks. I guess that would technically make 3 weeks because we record this stuff on the weekends, so it'll be about a 3-week gap before content is posted again. Stick around, please, or we can just watch the numbers go the reverse way that they've been going lately, in case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.